My name is Glass. I was starving, almost at my limit. I crawled to the remains of a bison, cracked open a bone, and dug out the marrow to eat. It smelled awful, but for me, it was the only thing keeping me alive. To seek payback, I first had to survive. He took my son away from me, and one day he will answer for it. I needed water. I crawled back to the river, filled my canteen, and eagerly took a sip. But before I could swallow, it leaked straight through the wound in my throat. My heart sank. Without food, maybe I could last a few days. Without water, I wouldn't make it long. I didn't want to give up. I grabbed a handful of dry grass, poured out some gunpowder, rubbed part of it onto the wound, and saved the rest for fire. I struck my flint again and again until the grass began to smoke. Once the flame caught, I lit the powder on my throat. The pain was overwhelming, and I passed out instantly. See that crow? It was waiting for me to collapse, but instead, it became my meal. I forced down that small piece of meat. It wasn't much, but it bought me another day. The next morning, I dug up roots between the rocks. Anything edible, I shoved into my mouth. Suddenly, I heard movement behind me. Turning around, I saw elk crossing the river. If I still had a rifle, I could have feasted, but now, all I had was a stick. On the riverbank, I wrote down the name of the man I swore vengeance on. Then, a sudden hoarse cry made my heart race. The native warriors had tracked me down. I pressed myself against the cliff wall and slipped into the freezing water, hiding behind the rocks, barely daring to breathe. But they still spotted me. If I fell into their hands, there'd be no escape, and I would face a terrible fate. I had no choice but to dive deeper into the river. The icy water swallowed me whole. Clinging to a floating log, I let the current carry me far downstream before crawling back onto the shore. I was soaked to the bone, shivering from the cold, but I was still alive. And as long as I live, I will never stop chasing my revenge.